Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's CJ. Welcome back for another update on the 120 gallon reef. Now we're going on the road. It's currently 5 a.m. It's dark, it's foggy, and it's very lonely on this trip on my way to complete the biggest coral haul ever again. If you guys missed the first coral haul vid, check it out, but this video is definitely going to make that one look like child's play when I get done sharing all the candy with you guys. So telling you right now, sit back, get your popcorn, hit that like button, and enjoy this all the way to the end.
All right, so guys, welcome. My name is Than, if you don't know who I am. I run a little coral shop here called Tidal Gardens in sunny Copley, Ohio. So yeah, if you would like, we can just take a look around and see what we've got going on. So the whole idea of this greenhouse was kind of like made that the sun is like the best source of light for coral, right? Everything in the ocean depends on the sunlight. And I was thinking, this is 15 years ago, I was thinking, why don't we do something that just takes advantage of the sunlight, use the greenhouse so we don't have to use any lights or anything like that, and it'll be like just the best of all worlds. It turns out that the light is completely different when you're talking about like a greenhouse in Ohio versus like the ocean. So you see here, there's tons of lights. So in essence, we ended up just kind of like turning this more into a warehouse and less of a greenhouse as time goes on. But we can just take a look around. I mean, these are the two, I guess, newest systems that we've put in. They're about 1,000 gallons a piece. But newest, I mean, they're at least 5 or 6 years old. But later on, we can show you some behind the scenes of the next building that we're putting up. I've shown it on my channel, but not a lot. And you might have seen it on Rico's Reef tank as well. But again, not a lot. It's not that like we're trying to keep it a secret or anything like that. It's just, if you've seen a warehouse go up, it looks like that. So there's not a whole lot of reef aquarium stuff going on just yet. It's a little bit of a hodgepodge. There isn't like a whole lot of rhyme or reason to where we've set things up. Sometimes things do better at certain times of the year versus other times. Sometimes it's just a matter of the chemistry in one system gets a little goofy, so we have to like quickly move stuff to another system and see if it does well. So you kind of do get this mismatch, and so pretty much everything is a mixed reef here. We try to keep it slightly organized just so we kind of have a general idea of where stuff is, but always subject to change. And I think that's part of the reason why we're going with a new building entirely, is because a lot of the stuff that goes on here it's less easy to control compared to like a home aquarium. And so the new building entirely is going to be made just for stability's sake.
Now, as you guys have already heard multiple times, I usually come into a situation with a quote-unquote master plan. And that plan was to, maybe do an interview and get some footage or whatever the case may be. But to be perfectly honest, after I walked in here, I was blown away by all of the corals, tanks, equipment, the people working and fragging and checking salinity and water parameters. All of it was just so overwhelming that the best I could do was just get you guys some footage. So enjoy the candy, and I'm going to try to share my experiences as far as seeing this place for the first time and, a few things I learned along the way. So let's get to it. And the first thing I want to share with you guys was not recognizing this place for what it was. As we pulled into the driveway, you would have thought this was just a normal house like any other house on the block. There's nothing that really says, hey, I'm a huge coral farm, I have tons of candy, come visit me. There was nothing like that gave that impression whenever we pulled up. So, it was pretty interesting in itself. But once I got inside, there were tons and tons of corals in here, multiple tanks, and from what I can tell, multiple isolated systems, meaning the room was split up into third or fourths. Each tank system had its own filtration, had its own skimmer, its own calcium reactor, and by all accounts, were all very well taken care of systems. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it was actually Than's family members working in here. He has his mom and his dad, hands-on, up close and personal, fragging corals, cleaning out the tanks, checking water parameter, doing everything that was required, to keep this place up and running. So, I asked him the question of, how do they feel about you getting into the hobby, and how do they feel about, this greenhouse in general? And I was surprised to hear him say it was his parents' idea. So How sweet would that be if all of our families were that in tune with the hobby and everyone was on the same page when it comes to the, the love of what we like to do. Now, 2 observations I do want to share with you guys. The first one, it is very humid and very warm inside this greenhouse. Even though, it's the end of January, it's still freezing outside in Ohio. It was very warm in this place to the point to where I wanted to strip down and just get more comfortable. But the second observation had to be the amount of corals in this place. If you're not familiar, Tidal Gardens is a website you can visit, a company that actually sells corals and, has a YouTube page, all of the above. But I just didn't get the grasp of how many different corals he had available until I got in here. It's almost like he's keeping half of them a secret, or they just don't have to share them all, at the time. But with that being said, there was a ton of potential corals in here that I want to take home, a ton that definitely would look good in the 120-gallon tank. And I have to admit to you guys, if I came more prepared, had a little more funds in the wallet, I probably would have ended up leaving with a bunch of corals from this facility. So if you plan to visit, just keep that in mind. You're going to see something you like. Just make sure you have the means to take it home with you. As I'm editing this video and doing the voiceover, I'm actually reliving these experiences just like you all are watching it for the first time. And it really puts things in perspective for me. One thing we always do in the hobby is get trapped in our own box, get trapped in our own bubbles of knowledge and ways we want to do things and our own imaginations. I was guilty of this as well. But if this trip taught me one thing at all, it's perspective of the hobby. Really getting an idea and seeing what it takes to run a business, seeing what it takes to have an operation of this scale, this many corals, this many tanks, this much water volume, this much on the line as far as livelihood. Definitely was a humbling experience and definitely put things in perspective. Without a doubt, I've learned a lot as far as something as simple as what a real coral colony looks like. Besides those 1-inch frags you may see at the LFS, what an actual, baseball, football size colony looks like, what these corals could actually grow to potentially. Those things are one thing to see online in a picture. It's a whole nother experience to see that in person. Trust me. It really helps you, guide your way in the hobby as far as what you want to do in the future. So for anyone, like I said before, that has any ambitions of expanding in the hobby, wanting to maybe have a frag system or a business of their own, highly recommend you take these trips and these visits as much as you can to Tidal Gardens or any other place you want to go to really get an idea of what it takes to make it work. So with all that being said, we're pretty much at the end of the greenhouse. I've shown you guys every single tank, every single piece of filtration, and I'm pretty sure every coral they had in here at least this day. So I always tell you, I'm just a guy with a cell phone, a reef tank, and a will to document the journey. You don't got to be fancy with a gimbal or, a computer or high-tech cameras to share your hobby. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the greenhouse from my perspective. And hopefully, you guys get a chance to visit it yourselves. So we're going to continue this tour and get an exclusive look at the new building that's going to be Tidal Gardens. That's right. For those that did not know, he is going to be expanding his services big time. So let's go ahead and get to it, and hopefully you guys enjoy the extended tour.
Everybody want to say what's up? Hey, what's up, everybody? All the people.
How's it going?
All right, I got you.
So here goes the exclusive behind the scenes look at Tidal Gardens' new build. Now this building is not completed yet. I believe it should be done in the next few months, but we're going to take a quick look around.
Like this pole to this pole, one big system like a
12-foot
showcase
tank.
How many gallons of water are you gonna have in this building?
I don't know yet because I haven't planned where the tanks are gonna go. I want to make sure that everything kind of gets put in, so if I'm not planning for tanks and all of a sudden there's a staircase that shows up.
Oh, you don't have a finished model of this where everything is on the desk and everything already planned all the way out, so it's still fluid.
It's super fluid.
That's good.
Yeah, we're just building first. We'll see what it all looks like. We know where the sinks and stuff like that are going to be, but yeah, just kind of planning out. How much room do we want around the tanks? Sometimes people plan all these tanks. It's you can't even walk between these tanks.
Put something cool in here, man, like a fire pole or something.
Fire pole.
People could if they want to just slide down to the first floor.
People have mentioned you should put a fire pole in.
So what do you guys think? Should he install the fire pole sliding down from the second to the first floor? I'll put a poll on the top right. You guys vote. Maybe Than will watch the replay and let you guys help him make that decision. But all jokes aside, I was amazed at just how fast this building is progressing. It seems like yesterday I was watching his live stream and he was explaining the process, from them laying the flooring, putting the walls up, burying the water change system outside. And none of this existed during that live stream. And a couple of weeks later, I'm up here walking on the second floor and we're throwing crazy ideas about what to add next. So it just shows you once a project's moving and has momentum, you never know what may happen. There were many conversations had during this walkthrough. One of them was specific about heating the building, and their solution was running hot water through the concrete through a series of pipes throughout the entire building for temperature control. So definitely a unique way of, solving a heating issue for such a large place. And I was glad to find that out.
He's going with solar panels now. Is that something that...
So I love the idea of solar. The problem is there's two problems with solar for us here in Ohio, is that we don't have a lot of sunlight to begin with. This is one of the first or second cloudiest areas in the whole country. The second problem is we have super cheap electricity because of coal. So our payback period is ridiculously long. It's 30 years. So it's I buy these things and it'll pay off when I'm dead, essentially.
Is this gonna be like a bathroom or something?
This is a full functioning bathroom.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna wonder. It looked like
shower, the whole 9 yards.
Upstairs and downstairs.
Yes, both from right here.
So none of your employees going home?
Yeah, we actually had the opportunity to hang out and chit chat for a little while. And I'm very interested in seeing if they ended up using some of the ideas that we came up with during this, focus group, if you want to call it that. But at this point, it was time to get something to eat. We were all starving. It's been a very long day. And all of a sudden, someone has the idea of the Hot One Challenge. Me personally had no idea what they were talking about until Than showed up with, a Jake the Snake brown bag full of things that were going to set our mouths on fire. So if you guys want to watch the whole video, you'll find it over on Rico's Reef Tank's channel. He live streamed it. Even the manager of Chili's got involved. So make sure you guys check that out. It is absolutely hilarious.
What's up, guys? If you're not hip to Lularoe, check out my Facebook group and YouTube channel in the description below. There you can shop live sales and shop the albums. We sell simply comfortable, stylish clothing. We have buttery soft leggings. They are by far the softest leggings ever. You feel cute, comfortable, and dressy all at the same time. The best thing about Lularoe is it makes you feel beautiful. Shoot your shot 2018 and let me help you find the new you.
Now, for all the lady reefers out there, definitely go check out Jamie's YouTube and Facebook channels. I'll put them down in the description for you. And for all the guys that's watching wondering, what's that have to do with me? If you guys have wives or significant others, the answer is very simple. Put them in a pair of these leggings, let them feel good and comfortable, and they will let you get the biggest tank you ever going to want. At least that's my plan. I'm a few leggings in. I got a long way to go, but I'm definitely laying the groundwork. I'm going to give you guys just a moment to sit back and soak in and absorb what you're looking at. This is probably by far the biggest selection of SPS colonies I've ever seen. All of them are acros. All of them are different types of colors, shapes, sizes, smooth skins, millipores, everything in between. And I was really surprised at just the variety that Rico has in his collection. Keep in mind, this is only one of 3 frag tanks he has full of corals, which is amazing in itself. And this is by far the biggest collection that I've seen personally as well. So with all that being said, this is going to be the answer to the question. For people may wonder or ask, CJ, where are you getting your corals from? How many SPS do you have in your tank? The answer is simple. All of my corals have come from the Candyman, also known as Rico's Reef Tank. Roughly 90% of the SPS coral in my tank have come from this collection. So if you're interested or you want to, start off with SPS for the first time or keep higher end acros or easy SPS corals, and you just don't have that variety around your area, holla at Rico's Reef Tank. He will be happy to get you out a shipment of corals. For what I understand, he is shipping them anywhere in the United States. We have to contact him via email or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram at Rico's Reef Tank. So I'm going to drop all his information down below. definitely go by his channel, subscribe, get all the information you need, all the corals you need, and hopefully leave with a smiling face like I did after today. So for anyone that is new to my channel, if you've never hung out with Rico or you don't have any idea about his system, let me give you guys a quick look at his filtration. Now he's running around 650 gallons of total water volume in this system, and the other frac system has around 200. So a ton of water also means a ton of filtration. So he has a huge skimmer. I believe that is a Reef octopus. Probably looks like it holds around 15 gallons of water inside of it. I'll put down the information as far as his equipment in the description below. But he does have his tank plumbed through the wall, draining into a 150 gallon horse trough, which has a ton of turbulence. I was amazed by how much water actually comes out of this skimmer. I expected just a little bit, but definitely he's turning over water big time. Now he also has a huge refugium. That ball of Cheeto is probably 1.5 feet wide, and it's being lit by one of those UFO, Amazon, eBay lights, you know, the economy lights, but definitely is getting the job done. So what other equipment is used to run his system? Well, just like everyone else, he has an auto top off reservoir. This is just a tad bigger than most. I'm guessing that thing's about 50 gallons. And he also has a very, very large calcium reactor setup. Now at home, I run a 5-pound canister. I think that thing has to be at least 20 or 30 pounds of CO2. And I was surprised to see a calc stair. Unfortunately, after talking to him, I thought I hit the jackpot as far as a secret in his tank. He told me he does not even use this thing. It's kind of on standby. If the time needs it, he'll, turn it back on. But the biggest surprise was noticing the similarities between this system and the one at Tidal Garden. Keep in mind, Tidal Garden is a huge greenhouse, thousands of gallons of water volume, using a huge skimmer and the exact same calcium reactor. He's using it on this tank. Not only is he using it on this tank, but it's using so much that his calcium reactor, the influent line, is not a drip. It's literally a stream of CO2, calcium, magnesium, alkalinity, trace elements. He literally has it wide open to try to keep up with the demands of his tank. So that was an interesting tidbit of info indeed, and I'm glad I was able to actually witness that for myself. So without further ado, it's time to give you guys what you waited for. And for those that made it this far, it's time to reap the rewards. Introducing Rico's 300-gallon display tank. Now Rico's had this tank running for a little over 3 years and has grown every colony out from small frags. Just let that sink in. 3 years equals football, baseball, bigger than your head size colonies, vivid colors, polyp extension, just craziness. It's almost insane trying to describe this tank for you. Now for those that follow me or that are subscribed to me and Rico, we see this tank all the time. We see it online on the live streams. We've even seen, through videos of Tidal Garden, through other people's videos of his tank, even his videos of his tank, but none of those videos can really put it into perspective how beautiful this tank is. And I'll tell you, without a doubt, this is one of the funnest tanks I've ever recorded. And that's including all of the tanks I've actually recorded myself. So I'm really hoping that the camera job I do on this really does a great job as far as bringing out the colors, the size of these corals, and just the clarity of the water in his system. So let's take a moment and try to address a few of the questions I know a lot of you all may have if this is your first time seeing it. And the first one is lighting. What kind of lighting has this type of success with corals? And that is the funny part about this story, guys. For those that have been following me, I've been running the Ocean Revive lighting, the cheaper Chinese black box lighting on my tank for years. That's exactly what he started this tank off with. From what I understand, he grew out these colonies for the first 2.5, almost 3 years exclusively using Ocean Revive lighting. That is an amazing feat in its own, and that should speak volumes for anyone in the hobby thinking you have to go high end to duplicate success like this. But with that being said, he did venture high end. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. So his current light setup on this tank now is going to be 6 Radeon Gen 4s, a Reef bright strip, and 2 Actinic retrofit 80 watt T5 bulbs. So ton of light on his system right now. And if I remember correctly, I think he said he's getting like 300 par on the sand bed, 500 or 600 par at the surface. So he's definitely blasting this tank with light, and his corals are responding great to it. So, you know, he's a master of his system. Don't try to duplicate anything that I share on this video from his tank on yours without your proper research and, you know, doing your homework. So with all that being said, you know, filming this tank definitely was a unique feat, because you guys know I only use my cell phone, no gel filters, but we actually figured out the perfect lighting to be able to allow me to film this without it getting too blued out. So that was a great thing. I'm glad I was able to share this with you all. So what's next? You know, how do you start a system like this? Set yourself up for long-term success. Well, if it was him speaking, he would tell you these things. He would say start off with live rock. I believe he started off with 600 pounds of live rock in this system. Run a system as natural as possible, meaning large refugium, you know, no chemicals, no vodka dosing, no bio pellets, none of that stuff. Pretty much natural filtration, large water volume, large export as far as a refugium, chaeto ball, whatever the case may be, a calcium reactor, and staying on top of your parameters. That has been his recipe for success in this system, and by all accounts, that is the recipe that I'm following in my system. So for those that are enjoying, you know, my 120 gallon build and the process that I'm going through, keep in mind a lot of that information, a lot of those methodologies that I'm using, even though I started natural in the JBJ, has been expanded on and definitely improved by following Rico's steps on this tank. So this is definitely a goal of what I'm trying to reach on my system, without a doubt. But for anyone that, you know, has a smaller system that's curious just what it can turn into, just keep in mind the scale and the size of what you're looking at right now. This is a 300 gallon, 6 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot tank. If I was to stand on the screen, you would really get an idea, but that colony on the right is easily 15 to 20 inches across, a foot or so across. So let that soak in when you're thinking just how big this coral is going to get in your tank. But with that being said, it's definitely a goal. It's definitely something good to strive for whenever you get a chance to see something like this. And without a doubt, this is definitely something I'm going to try to duplicate in my 120 gallon system. So what do you do now? You know, you've seen this tank, all the colors are popping. It's time for you to really get going in the hobby, and you really want to duplicate the success, save money, limit mistakes, and just have a great time, you know, with your first tank or your third tank or whatever tank you have. Well, the YouTube community is here to help you all. Keep in mind, you know, I run the Reef Shack on my channel occasionally, but Rico runs live streams all the time. 8-hour live streams, 16-hour live streams, and the whole purpose is to have someone there and available right away to answer your questions and to get you on the right track. Not to mention, a great place to hang out, share your tank, share your experiences, and as a collective community, all of us gaining knowledge and becoming more successful at the same time. And if you guys are wondering, you know, how I'm having so much luck with the 120, this is why. You know, I've been able to go in and get all the questions answered I've had as far as calcium reactors, water parameters, you know, keeping SPS corals, which is something absolutely insane. Just think about it. I'm keeping SPS corals for the first time, and I've yet to kill anything. That kind of information is invaluable. So if you guys want to learn more, definitely go by Rico's Reef Tank's channel and subscribe. It's more than just corals, it's information. And information in this hobby is power. Information in this hobby will save you money, and information in this hobby will set you up for long-term success. So at this point, it's time to end the tour at Rico's house, because I believe it's like 7 or 8 o'clock his time, and I still have a 5-hour ride back home. What a day. So let's go ahead and get out of here. What better way to end a very long trip, a very fun and exciting trip at that, than coming home, acclimating, and putting corals in your tank at 4 in the morning. That's right, I got a bunch of SPS corals, and I do mean a boatload of acros in my system now. So if you want to see what they look like, slide on over to my Instagram at cjsaquariums@gmail.com for exclusive updates. Otherwise, you guys sit tight, and I'll get you a full update on everything I purchased, everything that's in the system, the next update, and we'll go from there. So as always, hey, You guys can like, comment, subscribe. You guys keep doing what y'all do. Y'all be easy and happy reefing.